There is a comic shop beyond that which is known to man. It is a shop filled with arcane and oddity. A long box is in the corner, marred with layers of shadow and dust. It contains the comics between the pit of man's fears and the limits of his bank account. This is the dimension of stupidity. It is an area which we call the Mylite Zone.
Hey everybody, this is Up and Adam Comics Today, and on this episode of the Mylite Zone, we are going to talk about the Trailer Park of Terror. So I had on my previous episode, I had a stack of books, and I was just asking for feedback for what people wanted me to cover, and this was one that came up as I think Robbie Joseph, my good friend, and also Eric J. Himbo, also a very good friend, had both recommended this, so I put it at the top of the stack to try to cover. So, Trailer Park of Terror. This issue is actually the Trailer Park of Terror Color Special #1 from 2004, and the cover, interestingly enough, here is Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, husband and wife. A lot of people know Amanda Connor from her Harley Quinn. Jimmy Palmiotti's done a whole bunch of stuff over the years, but they're a great couple. If you ever have to get a chance to meet them at a con, wonderful people. This cover is crazy though. Look at this here first, before we get into the interiors. So it's got the kind of the trashy trailer park looking version of Marilyn Monroe, and if you know the famous movie image where she's standing over a grate and her skirt kind of flips up, or her dress kind of flips up, she's holding it down, but this has like a heat fan underneath it that's blowing it up. So that's kind of funny. And then just all all the classic monsters from The Fly, Dracula, Wolfman, Frankie, and the Mummy there. Great cover. But so this is my first experience into Trailer Park of Terror, and there's I got to share a crazy story that happened with this, but there clearly was some older issues that were black and white, and there's some kind of commentary about that. But one of the funny things, so I had this book, and there's some things that I bought clearly for the idea for this channel that I've kind of saved and I haven't read, and because what I want to do is read them and then record a video for it. So the craziest thing happened when I got this out of the bag and board that it was in that I purchased. I opened it up, and there's like inside this front cover, there's like a little Ziploc bag that was kind of flattened out, and it had a weird texture, and I was wondering what was in it. But I opened it up and I was like, man. And in that plastic bag there was weed. So there was actually like little like remnants of weed. There was like stems and seeds and a little bit of bud in this bag. So whoever had been reading Trailer Park of Terror had stashed their weed right in the front cover of it. Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that. About spit when I when I saw that. I was just dying laughing, and I was like, oh my god. So whoever, I found your like hideaway stash in the in a bag and board of Trailer Park of Terror within the comic. So totally crazy. But so fitting, this is so awesome and fitting for to have happen in this kind of comic. So that beats anything that's in the content of this book. But anyway, so yeah, so I feel bad for the person, like they lost their weed to Inside the Trailer Park Terror. Um, but anyway, the what this book is. So this came out by Imperium Comics back in 2004, and this looks like it was a color special. So I do not have any of the previous ones, but it appears that this was a black and white comic, the first series that came out, and then they put out a color special for this. So within it, what I came to find was that this is kind of an anthology story. I don't know if all of them were, but this one was an anthology. And one thing that's kind of cool is there is a kind of an ongoing theme. Like if you're reading into any of the EC comics, the new versions of them, if you're reading any of those, you see like a character that pops up that's like the host, and they kind of talk a little bit, and then the story gets introduced. And this one is kind of like that, except for there's like a little bit of a story that kind of that goes for like a couple pages in between the different short stories. So it starts off with this woman named Norma, and what's interesting is the Norma character. They say that it's photographed by Simeon Wilkins and Kodachrome by Chris Mendoza. So I think that is the artist writer combo, but they just said, hey, like this is just these are photos. But you can see this story starts off with Norma, who's kind of like the host of this thing, and she's in her little trailer in the back there, and she gets a knock on her trailer park door, and it's this woman here, and she says, "Hey, I've brought. How are you doing? Glad you're home." And she's like terrified, and she's like, "No, it's children," and the like horror kind of font. So she's scared to death of children, but for some reason, she is kind of forcibly told to help this woman out and babysit her children. So she's like, okay, I got all these rules, and and she's like, okay, fine, and she ends up taking care of them, but she loses one of the kids, and he's like underneath a kitchen sink, and he pulls out, there's a skull with a knife in it, and that kind of starts. That's the beginning intro story that takes you into Spooky House. So Spooky House is a little short story. The art is really cool. It reminds me, I'm going to totally blank on the name right now, but the art reminds me a bit of Gabriel Rodriguez that did the art for Lock and Key. It reminds me of that art mixed with our friend Elliot, who does Hellbound. So it's got kind of like some dark inks, some like strong lines in there. But this is basically just a wordless story. That's this guy going up to this haunted house thing. There's all this creepiness that happens there, and then it kind of ends where he's kind of killed, and his hat that he was wearing is in this rocking chair, kind of like Psycho or something like that. So that's the first story. The second interlude is with Norma again, and she's got the baby, and she's got to change the diaper, and it's disgusting. And then it goes on to this story of this woman. This is Death Pawn, and Death Pawn is a woman playing chess with the Grim Reaper, with Death, and they kind of are making a deal, and she finds out like if she uh it's kind of told to her if like if she ends up beating death, then she's in the hospital for cancer, and all of her cancer is going to immediately go away if she's is able to beat death. And so they're playing chess and everything, and there's this whole thing of death and her going back and forth and her deciding what her next move is going to be, and she just decides to forfeit. And he's like, if you forfeit, like the cancer is going to immediately come back and you're going to be dead within seconds. And she's okay with that. So kind of crazy. And then you see like the devil there is kind of, I almost had another soul, but she cheated us and didn't give us one because she didn't give her soul. And that was part of the deal. It's like, give us your soul, we'll cure your illness, that kind of thing. And she just wouldn't do it. Now there's another thing where Norma's another little interlude. Norma's in there, and she's like, "Let me tell you a little story," and with a kid, and that kind of ends up going into this story called the Passin Dropper. And there's a guy who, this is kind of like a guy that's just feeling down on his luck and has like kind of an empty life, and he gets on a subway. He's kind of freaked out about it. He's sitting near this guy, and the story, this one wasn't as good in my opinion, but he's sitting next to a guy that's like talking on the phone, and ends up like this guy basically says, "Hey, by the way, yeah, we're gonna get off," and he ends up killing the guy that's on the subway. But it was kind of a weird short story, not the best. And then we get back to Norma. She's getting ready to finding an older story to tell everybody to make them all tired, in a bedtime story. And so this one goes into this one called, Once Upon a Time. And it's basically Jack and Jill going up the hill to fetch a pail of water. But there's all these monsters. This one was kind of cool. The art kind of reminded me of like that Kyle Hotz or Kyle Holtz. I don't know how you pronounce that. But out of the lurking in the woods on the way to getting the pail of water, there are these eyes that are kind of coming out of the woods there, and he doesn't know what's happened to Jill. Jack doesn't know what's happened to Jill. He finds Jill's like shoe there, and then basically Jack gets killed by this like demon water, eye popping out, kind of gross. But you can see the last panel there, the monster has Jill's head because it's severed, cut off there, and then Jack with his eye hanging out there. So pretty gruesome, vulgar type thing. And so that's the last major story. And then Norma, the story kind of continues. The woman comes back to pick up her kids. And she says, the kids really behaved well after I told them some stories. They barely slept. Or barely made a peep. So it's kind of like the kids are just traumatized from this woman reading the story. So, in a nutshell, that is Trailer Park of Terror. I enjoyed this. I mean, the stories weren't amazing, but some were better than others. I thought the Jack and Jill was kind of gruesome. I liked the girl cheating death by folding, by giving up in the thing, and I liked the Norma story that was kind of going throughout. It's kind of funny. But anyway, if I see these super cheap, the black and white versions, I guess it came up, I'll probably pick them up. It sounds fun. It sounds like some fun reads, but it's like just another one of these independent books, just trying to put some work out there. And I've seen this a lot where there's some smaller companies that try to put together some things. They get some different people to kind of contribute stories, and it's kind of like early published work for a lot of these people. Passion project, kind of fun and a good way to kind of get some things out there. So that is Trailer Park of Terror. A little bit strange, a little bit unusual, but kind of a straightforward anthology story, and not a ton of trailer parkness, which I was expecting in there. There was the ongoing story in there, but the other stories were just normal horror stories, and so that was kind of fun. I kind of wish there had been like horror stories in the actual trailer park throughout the book. Would have been a lot more fun, I think, to me, and gone with the theme. But anyway, that was fun. But the highlight, I guess, is finding really old weed inside of a comic. I've never seen that before. Don't know if anybody ever stashed anything like that into comics before. But I guess it's a good way to, like, if your parents are snooping in your room, they're probably not digging into your individually comic bags and boards. So if you have collections, I guess that makes sense to just, like, if you want to try to find that, good luck, because you're gonna have to look through a whole bunch of comics to find the one that I hid my weed in. So anyway, but clearly they forgot about it after a while, or just left it in there to, like, not much left in it. So just like, let's get rid of it there. So anyway, that was Trailer Park of Terror. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mylite Zone. And make sure, like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear back from you. We'll see what I feature on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Flip through a floppy, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.